Hello and welcome to 2016 on my channel! Woohoo! Crazy! I am back in my room at home because I left university. Whilst I'm making this, I'm meant to be looking for jobs, so I'm not just living with my parents. But I'm going to make this first and then I'm going to crack on with the important stuff. I've been home for 2 days now and I've entirely switched up my room. I haven't quite finished yet. I still got rubbish to chuck out while the bins are full because I chucked so much stuff out. So, yes, today's video is going to be talking about last year's New Year's resolution, which was to read more. When I was little, I hated reading, but I think looking back on that, it was more the types of books I was reading. And I know so many people who love reading. I was like, well, I'm just going to try and sort this out and get myself into reading a book a month. I set myself the challenge of reading 12 books in 12 months. And I did it. I thought I didn't because I took a couple of months off because of uni and work. But luckily in some months I read 2 books. So over the whole period, I did well. I just want to talk about it because I fell back in love with reading. Not that I'd never been in love with reading, but I felt it was something I was missing out on. And now I'm not missing out on it. I'm just going to tell you the books I read in order. In January, I started with The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, followed by Girl Online by Zoella. February, I read Not That Kind of Girl by Lena Dunham. March, Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. Also in March, The Racketeer by John Grisham. April, The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. May, How to Fall in Love by Cecilia Ahern. June, Paper Towns by John Green. I'm not sure when I read this one because I didn't update my Goodreads properly. You're the One That I Want by Giovanna Fletcher. Was either in July or June? I don't know. Probably July. August, I read Looking for Alaska, again by John Green. In November, I read My Animals and Other Families by... what's her name? Claire Balding. And then I finished my year off reading Girl Online on Tour. That's also in November. December was just a crazily busy month, so no reading happened. My most repeated author for the year was John Green. I think these are all really good books. But I think you can read too many John Green books in a year because they're all super nice to read. But I found that Paper Towns and Looking for Alaska, these are the copies I got, were very similar to each other in terms of plot line, at least for 2/3 of the book, which is kind of disappointing because I'd really enjoyed reading Fault in Our Stars and Paper Towns, which obviously his books which have been turned into films, but when I read this one I was like, it's a bit predictable, but I bought it so I'm gonna finish it. I think if I just got it from the library I'd have just returned it, got another book which was a bit different and gone back to this like in a year or two. I haven't read much over the years, and so I'm not at the stage where I can read like complicated books yet, but for getting into reading, if you're a teen from about 15, I think you'd really like these, and it's kind of a bit nostalgic now that I'm 21, reading about teenagers, and it's also quite interesting because obviously his books are set in the US, so it's a little bit different, so it's a bit nostalgic watching American TV or like Nickelodeon and stuff. I would highly recommend him if you're just getting back into reading and I say you're 22 or under, or maybe older, I don't know. It's a nice yarn. If you're getting back into reading, I would so go for these books. The most controversial books I read were Zoella's books. I got this one from my friend Holly for free, which is probably why I started reading them. I read it out of curiosity, but in the end I really enjoyed it. Like nothing life-changing or like boundary breaking, but it was a nice book to read. I didn't have to think too much because when I read I want to relax. I think I have a reading level of about a 14-year-old, so these are aimed at me. And then I went on to read Girl Online on Tour, and I got the signed copy, and I'm really lame, and look, she's touched this. Go Team Internet. Really, really enjoyed reading these. hence why I went on to buy the second one. And they look really darn cute on my bookshelf, which I did a little cutaway of at the start. So the most disappointing book for me of the year was The Great Gatsby. I don't have it with me because it's a library book, and if it was good I'd probably bought my own like nice copy of it. But I just found it a disappointment. It was so overly descriptive. And then I'm sure action happened, but because it was so descriptive, like I wasn't really aware of it, and I was like, I just don't care. But it was part of my challenge. I wanted to read a classic book. That's my classic book for last year. But I don't think I'd recommend it. Like, it's for a certain taste. Like, I'm interested in the 20s and the glitz and the glam, but I can't really even tell you what happened in it. It was that boring. I'm sorry, Great Gatsby. You're a disappointment, but for some people it might be their favourite book. On my Goodreads account, it was my most popular book I read. So, are people just reading it because it's a book they should read? I don't know. The second from last section is my favourite book. I've been recommended this book. It's Claire Balding's My Family and Other Animals by my friend Harriet, and she's offered to let me borrow it before. But I never did because I wasn't into reading then. Picked it up from a charity shop. And I really loved this book. I did not know what I was expecting from it, but I couldn't put it down. Once I got maybe 50 or 60 so pages in, I got used to the writing style, and I just found it so interesting how she grew up. It was so different to how I grew up, but yeah, I felt I could relate to her. I don't know, I think I enjoyed this book because I related to her so much in this book, being an older sister. I mentioned it in my November favourites, where I might have talked about it for a bit longer. But yeah, I think this was my favourite book. Well, it's the one which stood out to me most. I don't know if it's because it's one of the last books I read, but I highly recommend this. I think it's the only autobiography I read last year. Yeah, I really tried to read a variety of books last year as well. Like, I know John Green and Zoel, I think, is like more teen fiction. But I had a biography in there, a classic book, The Racketeer by John Grisham, which is an action crime book. I read Not That Kind of Girl by Lena Dunham, which isn't necessarily totally chronological. I wasn't a big fan of that book, but I think I read it because of the hype and not knowing much about her, so it's a bit of a weird thing to do. But that was interesting as well, written in a totally different style from this. I also read a couple of books by Giovanna Fletcher, which I borrowed from the library, but I do want to buy her books so they can go on my books I've read shelf, and I liked. They were really good. I was reading Giovanna's books like February last year, and I remember the rain on the windows, but I had my candles on and I was listening to some reading music. Sometimes when I want to read, I find it a bit hard and I get distracted by things, but I find if I like have a nice soundtrack playing or something, I really liked The Theory of Everything for that. Although now I found a reading sound playlist that's put together on Spotify. So if you struggle with reading, you can't like relax into it. I think like listening to music, dulling the lights, having candles on, just have like a really relaxed room and snuggle up in your bed. That is the best way to read. Although reading on trains is always great too, because that's where I read this. And then I thought I would just show you what I'm reading now. I don't think I'm going to do another 12 books 12 months challenge, but I'm going to try and read a book a month, but not like overly stressed if I do or I don't. Currently I'm reading The Woman in the Picture by Catherine McMahon, which I picked up in a charity shop. It's about E.B. Gifford, who's one of the first female lawyers in Britain in the 1920s, an era I'm interested in. Remember me mentioning The Great Gatsby? But I'm reading like from a different aspect. This is set London, 1926. I'm up to chapter 16 and I'm loving it. Reading a couple of chapters every night, and it's different from the other books I've read. It's more of a period book. But I don't think it's a classic. It's like a one written, one of those jobbies. I literally do not know what I'm saying right now. I also picked this book up on the whim. The Silver Linings Playbook. I know it's a film, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's a film. It was a nice copy, so I thought I'd pick it up and read it at some point. My favourite book I haven't read it yet, but I know I'm going to love it. Here's another autobiography. This one is by Sue Perkins and it's called Spectacles, a Memoir. And I'm so looking forward to reading this. Look at it. So yeah, I think I've rambled on for a jolly long time. So this has been my books video. I don't even know what to call this. I don't know. I will think of a name. In my little note section of my phone it just says books under video ideas. So I don't know. As I said, I'm not going to do this again as my New Year's resolution as I've done it. My New Year's resolution this year is to leave England. I don't even care if it's just to Wales or Scotland. I have never left the country and that is so sad. And I want to go. Let me be free. Thank you for watching. I hope you've had a great start to 2016 and hopefully I'm going to post a bit more often on this channel. I'm not going to make any promises because promises can be broken. So if I don't make any promises, I can't break anything. Thank you for watching this video and I'll see you in my next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye. Ooh.